you're an example to everybody, but I am not ignorant to how many times you like hooked me up. You were always like looking out for me and stuff like that. And it was like such a cool environment because all these good things were happening. I'd be like, and then you would just slide out, exit stage left like you didn't do nothing.
Because I did it, man. You were one of the best we had, man.
No, man. I'd be like, how did this opportunity happen? And Carl's be like, oh, I don't know.
It happens to great people who work hard.
Like you, because you're one of the great people that work hard that be setting up other people for good opportunities. You do a lot of good stuff. And I want people to know because there's a lot of kids out there who want to know how they can become you.
I'll start it with what got me started doing what I'm doing now. And now, what I mean by saying now, it's not as in what company I'm with. How do I help develop and inspire people around me? I came from a single mother home. My mom was from Nicaragua. She only had one child. She was a housekeeper, a house cleaner. So she worked all day and then came back at home at night. She did great with raising me, giving me great advice and doing right. And then one thing she always told me is like, look, you got to make sure that when you do work, you work hard and you do what's right. It all clicked for me when I come to management and helping others when I worked at Radio Shack. I was nothing but 18. I was actually, I started when as soon as I was able to get a work permit. And as soon as I was getting a work permit, I was like, look, my high school is signing this because I need to start. I want these shoes. My mom is not buying it for me. I got to buy it for myself. And then that's how it really started for me. I had a Puerto Rican manager at the time. Her name was Gina Hunter, and she was great. She gave me an opportunity, and then I did what I needed to do. I was not old enough to sell cell phones, so I was just stock help. I broke down shipment as they come in a few days a week. She got promoted, and this gentleman named Moses Wright, he changed my world for me. And the reason he changed the world for me, because he did for me that I had nobody ever do in my life. My mom juggling both roles as a mom and a dad. She did the best she could. But the conversations he had with me, just right before I became 18, was special. He spoke to me like a son. He spoke to me like a cousin. He spoke to me like somebody he saw growing up that he wanted to see doing good. I turned 18. I was graduating. I went into Montgomery College, what at the time I call it 13th grade, because I just because everybody from high school that I know that didn't go to a faraway college went there too, and that's what it was. It was just 13th grade. Unfortunately, I didn't really have the discipline and the study habits to finish what I started, but he pulled me to the side and he was like, "Look, Carlos," he said, "Man, you're screwing up. I don't know what you want to do, but what you're doing ain't right. You got your foot halfway in with college, and you got your foot halfway in here." He said, "You gotta have to make a decision." And at that time, I had already like failed a few classes, and then he was like, "Sign up for the AGM position," which is assistant manager at the time. And he's like, "I don't care if you're with this company. I don't care if you go with another company. I just care that you start developing and you start learning the craft, where not only can you manage here, you can manage anywhere else." He said, "Start working on your resume, start strengthening some skills where you can do more than what you're doing right now." I took his advice. He mentored me. At the time, Moses was a part of something special because every assistant manager he had got promoted out of our district. They all got a new store. Next thing you know, like half of the district was all GMs that were developed and trained under his leadership. And I got to see that firsthand. I was just a kid. I was 18, 19. I didn't really start understanding until like I started running my own store. The time that he just kept on coaching me and giving me advice that honestly I had nobody ever tell me. He was the closest thing to almost a father figure I ever had in my life. He's a very special man.
I met you when you were 30. So here in the Washington, D.C. area where we're at, I mean, there's very prosperous retail. And basically, a district has like a certain number of stores and then they have a quota. Half the district's quota was based on your store sales.
Yeah, it's one thing that was taught by Moses is you manage a store with a great atmosphere and positive attitude so that team members and all employees will feel like they want to come to work and they want to be the best at what they do.
That thing right there, Carlos, it's like that's the biggest takeaway. That's why I'm calling this episode like the retail savant. Like you're like a genius in retail because I know when you were training me as an assistant manager, that's how I felt, man. I was like, let's go rock and roll. You basically had that vibe. How did you create that? Because you were always positive. If stuff was going on with you, the customers would never know.
Never. No. I would say Moses taught me this one time. He's like, speed of the captain and speed of the boat. Whatever speed I'm going at, as in with emotions or drive, the boat is going to go the same with the same speed or drive. So I had to make sure that personally, I had to be in a good mindset where I would want an employee to want to continue to work with me and be a part of my team. Small, simple things like I never brought home to work. But if I knew that I had a goal and my job was to inspire my team and drive them to go at the same level I'm going, then I got to show them that, day in and day out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There's a kid listening to this, or there's a adult listening to this, and they're beat down at their job, or the kid is like doesn't have any goals or doesn't really know how he's going to get to the next level. Like, what do you tell those people who feel like dead in the water?
I just knew that with great energy came great success. Positive thinking gives you positive results. I mean, there was days I didn't feel like going to work. There was days that I felt like I knew I wasn't going to hit target or I may not make it. But I knew that the more I thought like that, then my thoughts were going to be my reality, and I couldn't allow that to happen. It's so easy to kind of fall into your thoughts and let your imagination or just let your negativity just kind of take you where it wants to take you. You really just got to have that opportunity and think of something positive. For me, I know that what really turned the level for me was once I had kids. When I had my firstborn, Natalia, I knew that she counted on me. And it wasn't about me anymore. It's like, what was I going to do for her and how was I going to be able to push forward? That right there is finding something that's close to you and it's worth fighting for. Either be for your family or for yourself. It doesn't matter. You just got to fight.
One thing I like about interviewing folks who like maybe first generation here in the United States, and it's not exclusive to like immigrants, but I love talking to people from immigrant families because man, they're like powerful. Like, hey, you just got to do what you got to
Yeah,
do.
you're 100% right. A conversation I have with a lot of young first, I guess, first generation, and when I mean first generation in U.S., is I tell them, it's like, look, you got to understand that you are the foundation for your bloodline. There are several families here who have maybe four, five, seven generations of knowledge of the U.S. that have already built that foundation, but you're the one who's going to set that foundation, and then you're going to start off your foundation and your family right.
Are you a philosopher or what?
No, but it's true because I would see sometimes, I'll hear, well, it's not fair because, well, I didn't never got an opportunity, I didn't never get a chance. I'm like, well, you are that opportunity, you are that chance because you're the firstborn here. What are you gonna do for your bloodline? What are you gonna do with your future generations?
Yep. Yep. Are
It's
you
just
running for president of the United States?
no, no. But it's just the truth. It's just, and it's one thing that I love doing is having that honest conversation with somebody who sometimes never really heard that before.
And you're good at that. You're good at that, Carlos. It's like you have this mode I remember very well. You're jovial, you're jokey, you keep it light, but then you you could pull somebody to the side and say, "Dude."
It's true, but it's very rare. You'll see me mad and upset. the word I love to use is be transparent.
Yeah,
There's
and I'm not even talking about you getting mad, man. I thought those were the best times because it was like, here comes some knowledge.
yeah. uh, yeah, you're right about that.
Yeah, it was always good. I'm not referring to anything out of control. You were just like, you saw an opportunity to say, hey, I need to tell this to this person, and it was very, very respectful, and it was educational, and it was clear. I see all these people like losing their jobs and like tech and stuff, and I'm not going to judge anybody because I don't know the whole situation. So I'm not trying to be negative, but I just wish that a lot of people who lost their jobs in any sector could say, hey, let me look at sales. Because sometimes that's the last thing they want to look at. What would you say it takes? Because I've seen you bring people from all walks of life and turn them into great salespeople. What does it take from your point of view for somebody to like make that transition?
A lot of it is just getting over that fear of just sometimes socializing with somebody else. You really take out that fear factor of what if they say no, or what if they don't want, or they want to hear what I'm presenting. In the end, good customer service is just good customer service, and you build relationships that way. Regardless if they buy something or not from you, you gain a client, you gain somebody who would want to continue to either talk with you or do business with you.
That's really good, man. I'm not trying to judge salespeople negatively, but I know there's people who can teach sales, but they couldn't sell their way out of a paper bag, but they can tell you how to do it. But I've seen you like you teach sales and then you can do it better than anyone else. It's like Michael Jordan coaching you. It's like, okay, this is the way you do a dunk. And then all of a sudden you do this sloppy dunk and he's like, no, let me show you.
Oh,
I would sell sometimes one or two of this product to someone when you were like training me. And then you were like, hey, that was good. You give me feedback and stuff. And I was like, oh, yeah, okay, that's good. Cause it was my first time kind of in a retail environment doing it. And sometimes if I sold three, I was like, oh man, yeah, that was good. And I took care of the customer. And I remember you one time just whistling and you sold five like it was nothing, and then just went back to your thing to one person. And I was like, this guy, it's like effortless. Effortless.
one of the big things when it comes to sales and making it effortless. First of all, I think retail 101 is old school, but it works every time. Is transfer of ownership. Like if you're selling a product, the worst thing you can do, especially if you need to add on, is to ask the customer for more money. The inexperienced team member will kind of just say, hey, would you like to spend more money on this and this and this? And that's what it sounds like. You're asking for more money. And then anybody who's a buyer is going to tell you immediately, no, I don't want to spend more money. I, I don't want to spend more money at all. It's just transferring the ownership and letting them know from the beginning and not asking them if they want to spend more money, giving them the decision, these are your options, and what the total package is with the cost. It just makes it so much easier. And then the customer sees it as, okay, this is something that I really need because it's part of the product. It makes the complete solution.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That is so wise. Like, can you give like an example? Because I know where you're coming from because I do it and I've been involved, but there's somebody out there who's like, okay, break it down for me a little bit more. Like I'm coming into your store as a customer. What are you trying to do to help me?
I'm going to get a battery installed. Let's just say for like a vehicle. And obviously, when installing a battery, there are add-ons so that you can get a better return on your battery, and then it'll last longer. They don't come with it, grease and the washer. What I've seen in the past is that the team members would, let's say, customer will come in and say, hey, this is the cost of the battery, and then at the end of the sale, say, hey, did you want to get this? And then not explain the benefits on why the customer needs it done, installed correctly for the first time.
By the way, sir, would you like to spend $9.99 on the XYZ?
Yeah, exactly. Customers like, no, I definitely don't want that. But if one, the person selling the product, if they honestly feel comfortable and know what the add-on does and how it benefits the customer, then while they're selling it, you integrate it into the pitch because now you've shown the customer how valuable it is and why they would want to protect the high end product they're buying already. If you're spending $230, what's $4? It's nothing. It's nothing. $4 that you're not buying can cost you a $230 product.
Yep. And if you leave it at the end, it sounds like you just trying to get over.
Exactly. Exactly. Especially when you're a manager, it doesn't matter what retail. I mean, you feel like you're spinning a lot of plates. You spend the time, you slow down, and you coach and train your team, allow them to be confident in the product they're selling. That's it. That's it. Now they're having fun selling it. And then it becomes competitive. Now everybody wants to beat somebody when it comes to like top dollars, and that's what That's the environment that we were kind of in. Like, oh, okay, you sold three of this, and then now you're gonna see me sell three more, and it's just it becomes competitive and fun. It becomes a fun environment.
You're making me reminisce because, man, it's like I remember looking at the numbers on the database, like the live database, and like, oh, look, my store's done X, and then 30 minutes later, after I called you, you do like twice as many and call me back. How you doing, Gene? How's it going over there?
Oh yes, yes, yes. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
There was one Friday night I loved it because you guys were always the leaders, and I was in this nosebleed area, man. I could see the grizzly bears walking in front of the building. It's like, but that night, man, I was beating all y'all, and then one of the guys called me and was like, "What are you selling up there? You selling crack?"
Yeah. Oh man, oh man, man, you were when you were on fire, man. You were on fire.
Well, it was because of that competitive environment that you put up, man. Because it was like an NBA game. It was like, oh, okay, so you gonna do a double clutch, double pump on me like that?
Exactly. Like, watch out. Now it's my turn. I got the ball.
That's right. That's right. And then I go up, and then you slap it back like, what were you gonna do, G?
You know what? You just brought up something very, very important. I think we all have heard this, but I see too many people running businesses and they don't connect with a peer that challenges them. Let's say, for example, if I know that me and you are both doing business and I have a peer that's not happy, that doesn't like what they're doing, doesn't want to train anybody, can care less if they're attaching or hitting any key metrics or anything the company is focused on. Now, by me talking to them, how do you think I feel now? That starts that starts draining on me. I'm like, hey, look, I don't want to cut you off, but I got a phone call coming, and I gotta call G. I'm like, G, and then, if you're coming to me like, oh, I just did this, and this is what I did in sales. What are you gonna do? Now I'm pumped, and I find that too many times that you hear it when you're young. You got to be careful with the company you keep with, and in business, you can't keep company that's gonna either unmotivate you or bring you down.
Very good point. Because I know, man, you are always a motivator. It's like the district just really cranked with your leadership. Because I mean, we had a district manager, but I was like, Carlos, the leader. I'm like, this. I said, this district manager getting paid for doing nothing.
Yeah, right. Oh man, no, I had a lot of good district managers. I'll never take that away from anybody.
well, I'll let you say that.
Oh, but it all goes back to that training that I was witness, like watching Moses promote so many people, no matter where they live, what race, what gender. Like, he promoted so many successful GMs. It's just ridiculous, and they
Mm,
all had different personalities. But in the end, you know what we all had in common? We all wanted to win.
right.
Keeping people around that want to win makes a difference.
That's a winning statement right there, man. Those people, they're going to keep pulling the whole thing forward. what you just said, man, is like the core of everything. I have a question too, because I'm working on this project that is a passion thing of mine. And one thing that you never did, Carlos, which I appreciate, I want to see what your comment is on it. I remember you used to commend me and say, "Hey, Gene, you're doing good on this and doing good on that," and I appreciated that. And it's like, but sometimes you get in environments where you're like doing well, but like the people who are in charge of the feedback are just dragging you down. What does a salesperson do in that environment? Because just like you mentioned, where you can be demotivated by negativity and stuff like that, my thought is like the person just got to get out of that environment. I mean, but maybe you have like a little bit better take on it.
My years of experience now in sales, if you're in an environment where they're not encouraging you, and if you are performing and they're not even noticing that, it's a situation where sometimes I wouldn't stick around, because in the end, what all happens is, you have a great team member who's holding in their feelings, and as they start bottling up, they start to underperform. It's a natural thing, but you'd be surprised at how many people don't know how to talk and are afraid of any negative feedback. I think fear plays a big factor. If there is a situation and you need to talk to somebody, you need to know how to be able to address someone without them putting up their defense. When you're talking to someone and you want to come across and mention or talk about something that's it can come across negative, if you don't know how to approach someone and immediately once you say, "Hey, look, I have an issue with this," then the person you're talking to puts their defense up and they give you, "Well, it's like this because of this," or "It's like this because you're like that," or "It's like this because this is the situation I'm in." And then a lot of people don't know how to be open to hear what they're saying without giving excuses of why things are the way they are. I've taught people, it's like, "Hey, look, if you want to communicate with somebody about anything, tell them about something positive first. Let's say, like, Gene, I want to thank you for everything you've done to help me build a team at the company we were in. Now that I've said that, there is something that I want to bring across and see I need your help on." Their defense is down, and then we could talk about business without excuses in the middle.
That's really good stuff, Carlos. I think a lot of people are going to really fixate on that. I know the way you used to do it like that was really genuine. One thing that you made me recall right now is you really seem to have thought about when you had those conversations, because your face would always reflect like humility. You didn't come to situations that were delicate, like all rough faced.
You're 100% right, because the number one thing to do is just really, when talking, socializing 101, tell them something you're thankful for, and then why you appreciate them as a business partner or as a sales partner. Then talk about what's bothering you and how we can fix it.
You're Nicaraguan and you also have other countries in your bloodline and stuff like
Oh
that.
yeah.
I know I speak Spanish and I spoke Spanish when I met you, but I'm not Latino, but it's like you would help everybody, and that's what I'm appreciative of.
Mhm. And you know what I did, and then I remember my Spanish. The only reason my Spanish got really good is because I started working on the commission, and I realized I'm serious. Like, my mom would need to translate what I said to my Spanish speaking relatives. Like, what did he say? And my mom would have to translate my Spanglish, because it was that bad. I was working in sales, and they're like, "Hey, do you speak Spanish?" I was like, "Well, like a very little," and I would reply back in English, and then the look they gave me was just like, "Okay, so you understand, and you probably can, but you don't. Let me go talk. Let me go talk to the next guy who could probably speak Spanish." And I was like, "Whoa, what just happened there? I'm losing out." You know what? I got over my fear of how I sounded, and then the customers started loving me more because I was trying, and I built a clientele based on that. And I was able to learn Spanish even more while doing it in the process.
Yeah, well, that was news to me because I never knew you were like poor in your Spanish, because when I met you, you were pretty good.
Yeah, I was really good, but hey, I realized that the Latino community really appreciated that I would at least try, and they would give me the business because I was honest. Because I was honest and I tried to help.
You were talking about those spinning plates that managers have, and that's another thing that I really respect about you is like you manage those plates well. You have inventory things, you have like paperwork, you have like employee evaluations, you got to do other things with regard to new product rollouts and stuff. Do you have like a mindset or a way that you handle those things so that you don't get overwhelmed?
Writing a to-do list, man, that is sometimes so not practiced as much as it should be. And I
Hmm.
find that a lot of new retail managers sometimes struggle with that. Just write a list. It could be 250 lines long, but the list is your list as long as you knock out one or two at a time. Somebody always told me, like, look, if you needed to eat an elephant, how would you do it? Like, if you really had to eat an elephant, how would you do it?
And I remember the conversation, one bite at a time.
One bite at a time is no, it's impossible to swallow it. Because you're going to die trying to swallow. I promise you that. But if you were to cut up the elephant in little pieces, in the end, you'll eat it.
And if you ask me that question now, if I first met you, I'd be like, well, first it has to taste like chicken.
You got marinated good.
I got some qualifiers now.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, cause you are amazing, man. I'm so proud to see all the stuff that you're doing. You're just like a prodigy in my mind. I've seen a lot of people like you, but never all in one person.
Hey, but my job now is trying to help as many as possible, and then show them what worked for me, and
Yep.
hopefully they take a piece of it and make a spin of it, and then call it their own.
Well, you're gonna continue to be successful, and I'm glad I got some of my DNA in you. I
I
mean,
appreciate that, sir.
no, I meant the other way around. Your DNA in me.
I
See,
appreciate that.
look how nice you are. You're like even thanking me for that. No, I went the other way around.
Hey man, it's one love.
Yeah.